The two most underrated rookies in this Tennessee Titans draft class have continued to shine week after week. These guys deserve as much love as the other players who are getting so much attention. We'll tell you who it is and why they're playing so well, plus why it's important for the future of this team on today's Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast, presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo and Justin. I think people are going to figure out who the two rookies that we're going to talk about today are, but I kind of want to keep them guessing as long as possible. How's it going?
Well, I guess I'm doing well, but someone went into the comments yesterday and talked about how bad my beard looks, and
Oof.
They're not wrong, so I'm just going to let you a glimpse into my personal life. Believe it or not, I really do care about my appearance. I've got a baptism this Sunday where I'm the godfather. I'm Michael Corleone this Sunday. Vito, was Vito Corleone's dad? I think it was Vito Corleone. I'm Michael Corleone this Sunday in The Godfather, going to make someone an offer they can't refuse. And I waited as long as possible to get my hair cut and my beard did because I wanted to be as close to I want to look good for the baptism. So I let this grow out for an extra week longer than I normally would. Thank you for noticing. Not thank you. Screw you for noticing who took the shot at my beard on the podcast. I'm going to look so good next week. You just got to wait for it.
There you go. So clearly the comments getting to Justin Melo. You know what that means? You need to leave more comments. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Yes, today we are talking about two defensive rookies that I think have really shined for this Tennessee Titans team, especially over the last couple of games. And we're going to talk about who they are, first of all, and why this is so important for the future of this team because since Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and Roger McCreary were traded, Justin, it's been, the Titans need to add 3 new corners next season. Oh my gosh, how are they going to fill 3 vacant cornerback holes next offseason? And who was the voice of reason? Who was the one who kept saying they already have Roger McCreary's replacement on the roster? They drafted him in April. Oh yeah, that's right. I was the one saying that. Marcus Harris is balling out. How's it going, Justin?
Well, you've already asked me, but I'm doing better now that I got the beard rant off my chest. So Marcus Harris, yes, you probably guessed correctly. The first rookie that we're going to talk about, he was really good in that Seattle game the other day on Sunday, Week 12, the Week 12 30-24 loss. And look, we spent a lot of time talking Cam Ward, Gunnar Helm, Shimere DK. We're going to throw Marcus Harris some love. And as you said, not just about the performance against the Seahawks, but why it's important that he's on this team and what the long-term outlook is. Here are some of the numbers on Marcus Harris. He gave up 0 catches on Sunday. He was targeted 3 times by Sam Darnold, according to Pro Football Focus. At least 2 of them are fresh in my mind. Were absolutely targets in Marcus Harris's direction. The one that our audience probably remembers best, the most notable one, was he nearly had an interception. Sam Darnold throws the ball to his running back, Kenneth Walker, and Marcus Harris came so close to coming down with it. Great read by him on the play. In fact, he almost looked like the intended target, and Kenneth Walker kind of went into DB mode. I looked around, Seahawks Twitter, mostly their beat writers. They were all giving Kenneth Walker a lot of love for breaking that pass up. Like, Kenneth Walker had to be the DB because Marcus Harris read it so well. He played 30 snaps, targeted 3 times, 0 receptions. I don't know how this works, but I'm not complaining about it. Sam Darnold's passer rating when targeting Marcus Harris in coverage was 39.6. He also had a quarterback pressure, Marcus Harris did. Titans brought him on a blitz, and he logged the pressure. He was really, really good. In fact, I know we take grain of salt when it comes to Pro Football Focus player grades. He was the Titans' highest-rated defender. I think you mentioned this yesterday for some reason on the running back show, maybe? Or you mentioned it earlier this week for sure. He had an 89...
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it on a show. I might have. Or I might have mentioned it to you off air. I don't remember. But yeah.
Sorry, people. You're not privy to every conversation Graver and I have. He was Pro Football Focus's highest-rated defender on the Titans in Week 12. 89 89 or 89.6, something like that. He's either an even 89 or an 89.6. Either way.
89.0. And in fact, Justin, he wasn't just the Titans' highest graded player on defense on Sunday. He is the Titans' highest graded secondary player, cornerback or safety, this season. Okay, so he
I do take it with a bit of a grain of salt, though, right? Like, he's barely played. He just got in the lineup.
Of course, but when you start looking at the numbers and look at what he's compiling. Okay, I'll just go through some for you right now. Okay, Marcus Harris has played 85 coverage snaps. He is tied for second on the team in pass breakups per PFF's charting, with 3 pass breakups on 85 coverage snaps. Darrell Baker Jr. also has 3 pass breakups. He's played 212 coverage snaps. The Titans' leader is Amani Hooker with 4 pass breakups. He's played 345 coverage snaps. Marcus Harris, out of all the Titans' defensive backs, is allowing a team low reception percentage, aka catches per target. Only 5 catches allowed on 11 targets. Again, team low 45.5 reception percentage. I mean, he is playing in a team low 7.0 yards per reception. A part of that has to do with playing the slot and getting those underneath targets. But part of it has to do with the fact that he's tackling well right after the catch. Marcus Harris is a legitimate player. At least he has been since he stepped into the lineup. And I think that we talked a lot about the term building block on that episode we did a few weeks back, during the whole draft. But I mean, Marcus Harris looks like a starting caliber slot player for this Titans team, which means if that is true, they don't need to add 3 corners this offseason.
Well, a couple of things, and I want to make sure people realize that Seahawks performance for him, it wasn't the first time. It wasn't a one-off. Like we talked about, I think the Chargers might have been his first game as a starter, and he was good in that game too. Like the incompletion, he had Alad McConkey blanketed on that one coverage rep where that's one that's fresh in my mind, but incomplete, that was probably the most glaring positive rep for Marcus Harris in coverage in the Chargers game. But you know, I got to pat you on the back. You can't ding me. I normally pat myself on the back. I got to pat you on the back because you were the one who really understood the McCreary trade, right? And the further removed we get from it, you might be able to guess this. You might not. I kind of texted it to you, but do you know how many snaps Roger McCreary has played for the Rams? I teased this a couple of weeks ago. It's changed slightly since I last said it on here. You know how many snaps Roger McCreary has played in LA?
I do, but I'll let you tell our audience.
1. He's played 1 defensive snap in LA. It's been multiple weeks. Put it this way, Marcus Harris is at 85 coverage snaps, right? He only really started playing coverage snaps after the McCreary trade, so it's kind of fair to do apples to apples there. McCreary has played 1. And yes, he's getting to a new team. You can talk about an acclimation. I didn't see that coming, though. Like, I thought McCreary was going to get there and play a lot. And play right away. Like he's a 4th-year pro. So the trade's just looking better and better. The Rams have a good secondary. They're playing well. A guy like Emmanuel Forbes is kind of reviving his career down there. They got Cameron Curl. They got a bunch of good players down there. But they also had some injuries. I really thought McCreary was going to go there and make an impact. And by the way, the 1 defensive snap he played, it finally happened this past weekend. It was his first one, and he hurt his hip on the play and came out immediately. I don't know if it's serious or not, but I was told he came out of that game immediately after playing for the first time on defense. When you revisit that trade, like even though I wasn't thrilled with it, I did say, pat myself on the back a little, I did say that I liked the capital that they got back, and I thought that was an underrated aspect of it. Like moving from the back of the 5th round to the back of the 6th round it was to the top of the 5th round. They moved up probably 35-ish spots in the draft by making that deal. I didn't think that was nothing. I didn't think that was, a 6th for 5th round swap. No, they moved up 35, 40 players, right? Like that might be the difference between getting a good player that you were targeting or settling for someone, right? Might be the difference between a Kalel Maulings and a Marcus Harris, right? Like that's exactly the difference you're seeing right now, where you don't know what Kalel Maulings is and you're feeling good about what you're seeing out of Marcus. That's literally the difference, essentially. So
Wait, wasn't
give or
Harris
take ish.
Harris was also a 6th-round pick, though.
I'm just saying, like, what was like 45 spots, though, right? Like the difference between drafting a Kalel Maulings and drafting, I feel that that's a fair representation. You're moving up a bunch of spots and maybe getting a guy that's a better football player, or it's the Alec Iomanor moving up for Alec Iomanor. It gives you the flexibility, right, to move around the board and get a better football player. So I do think it's really important that he's on this team right now. I'll throw it back to you, but I do have some more thoughts about what this means at cornerback next season.
So are you saying the Titans won the trade because everybody was freaking out? Why would we ship off all this good young talent? Blah, blah, blah. I felt like the only person saying, yeah, I understand this trade. I mean, you did too. We understood the trade because McCreary was hitting free agency at the end of the season. So that's like the number one impetus for trading him. But number two is that you do have his replacement on the roster. And that was like a point I wanted to stress, that they're not going to just ship guys off if they didn't believe in Marcus Harris. And now their belief might have gone unrewarded. And again, it's still early. He's only played a handful of games and he's a rookie, but he hasn't given up. I haven't seen him get really beat, even when he's allowed those 5 catches, he's right there. And that's why his yards per catch allowed is so low, because he's not allowing a lot of yards after the catch. So yes, back to you to finish up the Harris convo. And then we will reveal the second rookie that we're talking about.
Yeah, I do think that, again, I'm not ready to call him a building block. I don't even know that I'm ready to say he's like a guaranteed starter next year.
Well, he'll prove that if he is over the last 6 games here.
Exactly. If he keeps this up the rest of the way, I'll feel really good about saying that. And part of the reason is, and don't mistake me, it is also a bit of a non-premium position, nickel corner, in my opinion. I mean, look, when I say that, just look at what they get paid around the NFL. Like the really good ones make like $11, $12 million a year. Like Kenny Moore in Indianapolis, Kyler Gordon in Chicago. If the top of a position group is earning like $12 million per year, sorry, that's not a premium position. They pay tackles $25 million. They pay wide receivers $30 million. They pay edge rushers $35 million. So
40 if you're Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons.
Right. So I feel good about saying it's not a premium position. So to me, you don't need a Myles Garrett at slot corner, right? So that helps his case in terms of him potentially being a starter moving forward. So if he keeps this up, I think he is. And I don't want to say I've got this take bubbling. I do think corner is a huge need this offseason, but I do question the amount of resources they're going to pour into it. Like it might be a 2nd or 3rd round pick and a mid-tier free agent. And I don't know if I'm underselling it, but I think it's so important that they get an edge, a wide receiver. Like, I don't know the level. Like, I don't think they're not going to draft a corner in the 1st round. I'm not even sure they're going to draft one in the 2nd. They might, but my point is, I think it's one of those positions that they might address with like a half measure. You know what I mean? And if the defense gets better as a whole, and for example, they get a really good edge rusher, that makes the secondary look better. You know what I'm getting at? So like at corner, maybe it's like an Eric Stokes, who, by the way, is going playing really good ball for Vegas this year, not appreciating how good he's playing because the team's terrible. Or like a Josh Joby in Seattle, who I always think has given the Seahawks good reps. Or a bit higher end, a Tariq Woolen, if they don't re-sign him in Seattle. Like, I think it's going to be that level of free agent, a mid-tier rookie, like a 2nd or 3rd round rookie. And then they still got to add another one, in my opinion, for depth purposes. But the point is, I think it's going to be a half measure at boundary corner, kick the can down the road until we're a better team. And now it's our biggest need. And now we can draft a corner in the 1st round. You know what I mean? So for me, having Marcus Harris at nickel hopefully means they only need to go out and get 2 starting caliber corners this offseason. And I'm not sure they're going to invest huge capital into doing it.
Yeah, I think all of that is very fair. And I mean, you could definitely see it because it's such a premium position. It feels like the free agency route may be the best way just to use up all their
Exactly.
resources. You get somebody in that you won't have to teach how to be a pro to, and that can be like a leader in that room because everyone else left after Snead gets cut is basically a young player, developing player, or a former undrafted free agent. So, yeah, I totally agree with you there, Justin. Should we move this conversation on to the other underrated rookie who continues to shine?
I think we should, and I think we'll be shocked if you didn't guess it 15 minutes ago. It's third round safety Kevin Winston Jr., who since coming back from the knee injury has been all over the field for this defense. It really started, I guess you could even say just 2 weeks ago in that Texans game. I'm going to shout out Drew Beatty at Iron City Films, who's at paulkaharski.com. He had a pretty good article there over at pk.com on what Kevin Winston did in that Texans game. He was everywhere. Mike Herndon, I think, for pk.com also wrote a follow-up article on how well Kevin Winston has been playing. And then you get to this Seattle game, and I feel like it was pretty much more of the same. He had a team high 10 tackles in this Seahawks game. He played 48 snaps. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm actually going to check as I talk. I think that might have been every single Titans defensive snap, actually, which is not a lot. But the Seahawks scored a couple really quick touchdowns in this game. So it's not like they had extended drives, right? Like that was every single snap, maybe?
Yep, 4 players played 48 snaps. Darrell Baker Jr., Cody Barton, Amani Hooker, and Kevin Winston Jr.
So Kevin Winston played every single snap, 48 snaps. He had a team high 10 tackles. He was credited with missing 0 tackles in this game by PFF. Now, we always say a grain of salt. I don't know if you want me to throw it back to you, but I'll give you a grain of salt moment right now. They also credited him with allowing 3 receptions on 3 targets for 66 yards. That does not sound very good. The worst of it was the 56-yard completion he gave up to Jackson Smith-Njigba on the first play of the second half. The first offensive snap for the Seahawks, they hit JSN for a 56-yarder. Well, if you watch the tape of it and you listen to Denard Wilson speak, I thought this was the case when I first saw it, and Denard Wilson confirmed it. He said, and I quote, "The corner was supposed to be attached to that route." So I think your initial review, and I'm not blaming you because I think it was a very good initial review before we really got into it, you had said, it looked like the corner might have passed that off. Well, then we get confirmation. Denard Wilson says, the corner was supposed to be attached to it, but he wasn't. So they're supposed to have that doubled up on that play. It ends up being a one-on-one for Kevin Winston, which was not the design. And guess what? When you're one-on-one with who's been the best receiver in the NFL this year and you're a safety, yeah, you give up a big play.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I'd have to go back and double check the film. I'm pretty sure it was Baker, the corner that passed off JSN there, and like there was another example earlier in the game where JSN scored a touchdown on Amani Hooker, everyone remembers, where he was literally matched up one-on-one with Hooker. They used some creative pre-snap motion to get JSN aligned over Hooker. And Hooker, by the way, I again rewatched the game last night because I'm a psycho. And as I was falling, it's a thing to fall asleep to. And Hooker made a really good. Hooker played great defense on that play. JSN just made a better play at the catch point. It
wasn't terrible. I agree. Yeah.
Like he was right there. JSN has like a arm. I'll call it an arm bar. It wasn't a full shove. He didn't extend the elbow, so it was a perfectly legal play. He did push off, but in a legal way, and made a great catch. He's a great receiver. It's going to happen, and so I don't blame Hooker for that. I blame a defense that asks a safety to cover JSN one-on-one. But in the play that you're talking about, that wasn't the design of the play. And so Winston gets credited for giving up that big pass, but really he should have, they're trying, their scheme is like, we're doubling JSN because he's killing us. And then they get him free one-on-one again anyway for another huge gain.
Agreed. And that's the perfect example of taking PFF information with a grain of salt. They assign that one to Kevin Winston. That's why the numbers look bad. 3 catches on 3 targets for 56 yards. You're telling me he gave up 2 catches on 2 targets for 10 yards? Like, that's literally the difference when you remove that play. And I don't even know about the other 2, but I don't care if he gave up 2 catches on 2 targets for 10 yards. That's a huge positive. So this guy's really coming into his own right now. By the way, I found it so ironic, and no one might care about this. Like, the game that he played against the Seahawks, that's the team the Titans traded back with to get the extra pick that led to Kevin Winston Jr. And I also find it ironic that the Seahawks part of that trade was moving up for a safety of their own in Nick Amenyori. So for me, it's really interesting to see those guys go head-to-head in this game, 2 safeties that were essentially traded for each other in a roundabout way. And look, Nick Amenyori is playing great for the Seahawks. I don't think the Titans have any complaints about that deal, moving back, getting the extra pick, getting this guy. You talked about the word building block. He is playing like a building block. He absolutely looks like a building block for this defense. We felt strongly about him when they drafted him. The Titans felt strongly about him. We talked about him maybe being a first-round guy if he didn't have the partially torn ACL at Penn State that I think, limited his season to like 4 games last year in college. So this guy's playing out of his mind right now. It's really important that he's on the defense going into next year. We talked about what it means. You've got your starting safeties for next season. No questions asked. It is Amani Hooker and Kevin Winston Jr. And I know Amani Hooker hasn't been great this year, but I am not of the mind that they're going to cut Amani Hooker this summer or move on. They see him as a team leader. They love his attitude. And I honestly don't think he's played that bad. I think he's played kind of average. He just hasn't played to the expectation he set for himself. I also think a lot of that has to do with what he's dealt with on this defense and in the secondary. You know, he started with L'Jarius Sneed, Jarvis Brownlee, and Roger McCreary as the corners that he's communicating with and relying on. And now it's a whole different room of corners. Like, that takes a toll on a safety. I don't have concerns yet about Amani Hooker. Him and Kevin Winston are your starting safeties next season.
I totally agree, and I think that that's the whole point. You draft somebody in the 3rd round, you're hoping they develop into a starter within a year. And look, he, again, played all these snaps on Sunday. He has already become a starter. He's going to get great experience over these last 6 games, even though, the team doesn't mean anything, and you probably have a new defensive coordinator next year. We'll see. You never know. But we'll see about that. And I'm really excited for this class. I mean, we continue to talk about it because it continues to be true, and we'll see as the careers of these guys unfold, like what roles they really settle into, because I do think that some of them might be playing above their ideal role. I'm talking about the draft class as a whole right now.
Right.
Whereas like Alec Manor, for example, was probably not, when fully healthy, obviously, an every down receiver. He's going to be, great depth and a guy that comes in for packages. And I mean, maybe he develops it. We don't know. We have no idea. But I agree.
I know what you're saying. You're right. Because they've got to improve this wide receiver room this offseason. And that should guarantee Alec Manor nothing. He's going to have to be one of the top 3 receivers to be on the field. And hopefully you get it to a place where he's your 4th best receiver, like at minimum, in all honesty, right? Like, that should be the goal this offseason, if you will. It sounded like you were going to wrap us up, but I got one final thought on Kevin Winston that I think I do want to get to. Like, the way I see those safeties moving forward next year with Amani Hooker and Kevin Winston, it almost reminds me, and this is lofty, the Amani Hooker-Kevin Byard partnership. Like, I really think this could be that good, not just from a production standpoint, but also how you use them. Like, remember both of them when Byard was here. Byard and Hooker were so good at playing single high coverage, or two-man, cover 2, whatever, like both like single high, cover 2, or they were also great at coming downhill, tackling in the run game, picking up a tight end one-on-one. I think Kevin Winston's got that similar all-around skill set. He's a great tackler, but I trust him to play back there. I trust him to play in coverage. And Amani Hooker's, it hasn't changed. He's got that same skill set he's always had. So if you got both of those guys and they're interchangeable, that allows you to do a lot with your safeties. And it worked well for them when they had that sort of pairing in the past. The final thing I'll say is Kevin Winston did not come into this year as a starter. That was Xavier Woods. No doubt about it, he's replacing Xavier Woods. I don't know that Xavier Woods is on the team next year. If he signed a 2-year contract this past offseason worth $10 million, $8 million, in the $8 to $10 million range. He's making about $4 to $5 million a year. You're going to look it up as I say it, and that's fine because I'm still talking as you look it up.
2-year, $8 million.
I mean, look, you want to keep him on the team. I'm not exactly complaining about that if he's your third. It's a little expensive, maybe for a third safety, but I'm picking the nit, as you'd say. I'm nitpicking, right? Like, not the end of the world if they decide to keep him around. But if they do cut him, they'll save $4 million against the cap, and they'll only have $1 million in dead money if they want to cut him. So I tend to lean they're going to cut him and sign a cheaper third. They might bring back Mike Brown as the third safety. They love Mike Brown on special teams. Bones Fossil raved about, like, Mike Brown just came back, and Bones is already raving about him on special teams. And guess what? If they keep Bones, which we hope they do, he might want to keep Mike Brown. And you and I have said this many times. Mike Brown has always played pretty all right when he's had to fill in for an injury at safety. I think you could probably do better at number 3 safety for defensive purposes than Mike Brown, but I don't think he's a giant liability, and I think he's a huge asset on special teams. So if they replace Xavier Woods with Mike Brown, I don't mind that, and then bring in another safety of the Mike Brown caliber to round out the safety room, I think that makes total sense. I don't know that Xavier Woods is going to be here, and I think Kevin Winston has taken that job.
And I think, when you're talking about being able to save $4 million against the cap and our audience screams, but the Titans have the second most cap space. Like, this has been, I think, a common theme every time you talk about saving money but giving up a potentially good player is that somebody somewhere who's a Titans fan says, but cap space. It's not even about cap space. It's about using that cap space, because if you don't use that $4 million next year, it rolls over to the following year. Every unused dollar is worth something, or it's there if you need to make a midseason trade because the 2026 Titans suddenly become way more competitive than anyone expected, or yada yada, to use a Meloism. But the point is, you always take the savings when it's worth it to not. When you don't need the player, or the player, like the Harold Landry situation, they felt he was overpaid. It didn't matter that Harold Landry would have been a very useful piece on this team this year. Like, if the Titans had Harold Landry, they might have an above average to good defense right now. Literally want that one player away. But it doesn't matter that's the case because he was being overpaid. So this is a similar thing. I've compared Borgonzi's process to John Robinson's quite a few times, at least the very early career John Robinson in Tennessee, when he would say things like, we have very strict rules in our, looking at our books. A player is worth X. We don't overpay for that. We have to set a standard and not go outside that. The Rand Carthon method was spend all the money, right? And we saw how that went. So I fully support what you said. I think that Kevin Winston Jr. was drafted to be a starter. He's going to be a starter. I totally agree with you that Xavier Woods is like fine to keep if you want to, because depth matters, and Amani Hooker hasn't been the healthiest guy throughout his career. And if you're relying on him to be a starter next year, maybe you'd like to have Xavier Woods in that room. But I also agree that Mike Brown is fine, and a Mike Brown level player, as you said, is fine. So yeah, how about that? These two underrated rookies continue to shine, Justin.
They've been super impressive, and both of them, certainly Kevin Winston, we're comfortable calling a building block, and Marcus Harris is trending towards being confirming that he's a starting caliber player. I don't need him to do, this is the key, we don't need Marcus Harris to do any more than he's doing. We need him to keep doing what he's already doing. If he does that, he will be confirmed as a starting caliber cornerback, nickel cornerback on defense next season. That'll do it for Wednesday's episode of the Music City Audible podcast. Believe it or not, we will be back tomorrow on American Thanksgiving. You guys have gotten used to the Thursday episodes.
You don't have to call it American Thanksgiving for an American audience. You can just say Thanksgiving.
There's Canadians who watch this show. My buddy Rob, who lives 30 minutes from me, comments on this show all the time. It's American Thanksgiving, okay? We will be back tomorrow for the United States of American Thanksgiving. We will have an episode on the USA Thanksgiving Day of the turkey. Because you know what? Spoiler alert, we're not going to lie to you. We're going to record it right now. But we're still going to drop it on Thursday because you have gotten used. Do you care when we record it? You better not. As long as we stay consistent and hit, I could be doing it Wednesday, 4 a.m. from my grandmother's garage. You should not care as long as we hit you with an episode as scheduled. So we will be back tomorrow at our regular scheduled time with a Thursday episode. That's going to talk a little about the Jags game. We're a bit more interested in previewing the game since Cam Ward and the Titans played so well. But for the most, it's not going to be a traditional preview. Tune in anyway. It's going to be about Cam Ward, what we need to see from him, continued progress going into Sunday's game after he played his best game of the year. A bunch of things Graver and I are looking for. We'll give our score predictions. You had a bunch of other tidbits, I believe, that you wanted to get into. So we will be back tomorrow. I ran out of ways how to say America on the USA version of Thanksgiving. Until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.